It's been nearly 10 years since the Marikana massacre, and still there are many, many answers that remain outstanding. The High Court in Johannesburg today is hearing that the National Police Commissioner at the time, Ramaphosa, sent angry police officers to confront striking Lonmin mine workers. The lawyer for the mine workers, Ramaphosa, has been arguing a civil claim against President Ramaphosa, Sibanye Stillwater Mine and the government. 34 mine workers were gunned down by the police on that day in August 2012 in what became known as the Marikana massacre. Senior reporter Aviwe Mtila joins us for more. Good evening, Aviwe. So this is a civil claim. What exactly do the miners want?
Well, an apology, Sally. They say that the president failed to uphold a promise that he even made to Winnie Mandela in saying that he'd one day go back to Marikana and apologize for the massacre. So it's 369 Marikana mine workers that are taking on the president, Ramaphosa, as well as Lonmin, which is now Sibanye Stillwater and government, in this civil case, which we do understand with a lawsuit of R1 billion. It dates back to that tragic incident of the gunning down of 34 mine workers, and we do understand it relates then to the emails that were sent just a day before, on the 15th of August, before the 16th of August, where we do understand that Advocate Ramaphosa, who was representing the miners, saying that the president then went on to criminalize, recharacterize the incidents of the day, which were the labor strike that we're seeing on the day, and then changed it to the criminal activity that he termed it on the emails, and then wanted concomitant action.
And that was the phrase, wasn't it?
Yes, the phrase that's now become, well, synonymous to that Marikana massacre. And of course, the workers are now accusing him of actively inciting violence, as well as using his exerting force and also his political influence, which we do understand in those conversations that were touted to have even been to the then NUM President Kwete Mantashe, as well as Ramaphosa. In fact, I wanted to take a listen to Advocate Ramaphosa in summarizing of some of the events that happened just before then the police were then sent on to what we do now as the Marikana massacre. Let's take a listen to that.
Mukwana says they will forget about the instructions, yes. And the sub-commissioner says, yes, they will have forgotten about the instruction, and I do not want a situation where 20 people will be dead. I mean, really? And you say this was not subjectively foreseen. She got the number wrong. There were 34 people who died, but they were foreseeing 20 people dying if they send this angry police there, which is exactly what they did the following day. It's subjective. In fact, we're talking about dolus eventualis, who are being very charitable. This is dolus directus.
All right, so that's Ramaphosa arguing for the miners. Have you managed to speak to the miners themselves?
I did. In fact, I spoke to Mzokolo Makitungwana, who was there on the day, shot 9 times, Sally, and we do understand the doctors removing 7 bullets from his body. So one of the victims and the survivors of the Marikana massacre. And it was sad to realize that 10 years later, I mean, the 16th of August this year will mark exactly 10 years since that tragic massacre happened. No one has been compensated this far. He says that while they're happy that what they were fighting for on the day, which was that minimum wage of 12,500 rand, has been reached, but they haven't been compensated, those that were shot on the day, those that passed away, and those that are still surviving. And he pointed out while the 369 were there today and what they were fighting for. Let's just take a listen to that.
Mine workers sibeke ityala ngakumbi kwaba bantu babenze unobangela ukuba side sibe ngamaxhoba. I understand ukuba upresident ngungqondo oqala nokugqibela amapolisa unobangela bayenze lanto yonke ukuba kudutyulwa abasebenzi kungenxa yakhe isizathu ipressure yafumaneka kuye, and then uyamazi njengomuntu owathi nxa efuneka engene kwesasikhundla wabonakala uyathetha-thethana nomama uWinnie esekhona, wathi uyakufuna ukuze eMarikana ngesingcwabo sikamama uWinnie uzokhatshwa ngulanto ngupresident we-EFF uJulius Malema ahambe ayocela uxolo eMarikana. Kodwa loo nto leyo yaphelela emoyeni ngenxa yesizathu sokuba wayelungiselela lento wayeyilungiselela, hayi ngoba wayefuna ukuba exolisa nyani. So siya sayithatha ke lento ngobuhlungu.
I think it is important to note as well that the president is not really welcome in Marikana, and I know he said to eNCA that he will go at some point, but it's very tense for him to go there. But it's telling that he hasn't yet been able to visit, nearly 10 years since this awful massacre. When are we going to hear from the president from the mine?
Well, we've heard a bit from Advocate Badlander representing the president, saying that at that time he was a non-executive director, therefore he shouldn't be held liable.
At Lonmin.
At Lonmin, as well as the shareholder, of course, we do understand. So therefore he shouldn't be held liable for any financial implications, but also he shouldn't be held liable for any constitutional outcomes. But we're still going to hear extensively as they argue in defense of what Advocate Dalimpofu has put forward, and then of course we'll hear then the final outcome from Judge Osterhazen.
All right, thank you very much for that update, Aviwe Mtila.